Learning where your DNA comes from with 23andMe.com might just inspire you to explore your connection to the world, like Kate. 45% of Kate's DNA is from the British Isles, so she took a little bike trip through Scotland. And 10% of her DNA is from North Africa, so she paid a call to Morocco. Order a DNA kit with 23andMe.com today and let your 23 pairs of chromosomes show you another way to experience the world. Get over 75 reports on ancestry, health traits, and more at 23andMe.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Sometimes we need to slow down and remember the simple pleasures in life. Good coffee, good books, and good company. Come on in. Take a seat. The coffee's just been brewed. Let's see who we have in the coffee shop today.
Well, I'm wandering around the coffee shop looking for someone to sit and chat with. Errin Krystal, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Is that your name I see on the cover of The Last Dragon Rider?
Yes, it is.
Oh, outstanding. Looks like I found the right spot to sit and talk about books. So,
definitely.
When did The Last Dragon Rider come out?
The 9th of August, so just a few days ago.
Awesome! New releases are such fun. Although I have no problem talking about older books too, the new releases are just fun. How long did it take you to write The Last Dragon Rider?
Okay, so from beginning to end, it probably took about 6 months to write the actual book. I was only working 2 days a week at the time after having my son, so I didn't have a lot of other things going on, so every night I would sit down and do some writing. So from January to June it took me to get the first draft done.
That's outstanding. Would you care to share a little bit about The Last Dragon Rider?
It's a high fantasy novella with lots of action and romance and steamy bits in it as well. The main character, Flintathriel, he's an elven prince. He actually started out as a side character in another novel I was working on at the time, and I actually got a little bit stuck on where I was going with that, and he was always one of my favourite characters, and somewhere along the line he decided he was going to have this backstory, so I'm like, oh well, I'll take a little bit of a time out from this one because I was a bit stuck, and I was just going to write a little short story about him and his backstory, and it kind of got a little bit out of control and ended up a 30,000 word book.
I think it's great. What genre did you say? High fantasy?
Yeah, yep. There's dragons and magic and elves and all that sort of good stuff.
Oh, sounds like a lot of fun. Can't wait to steal that copy off the table and read it. But I'm going to have to wait at least till the end of the show.
True.
The novel you got stuck on, are you going to go back to working on that one, or are you going to continue telling us more about The Last Dragon Rider?
It's actually become book 2 in the series. I actually got quite upsetting at one point, though, because I finished The Last Dragon Rider, and then I went back to it and continued writing it, as I had my outline planned. And I got about 85,000 words in. I was probably about 3/4 through finishing it. And it actually dawned on me that the two main characters were suddenly pretty much irrelevant to the entire story since I changed some backstory and where it was actually going after writing The Last Dragon Rider. So there was a really horrible moment last September when I realised that I basically had to scrap the entire thing and start again.
Ouch!
So that was, yeah. Yes, which meant that the now two main characters were originally sort of side characters that I didn't realise had so much potential, but one of them was actually in The Last Dragon Rider, but I won't say who because it's a little bit of a spoiler. But yeah, and this other character, I decided he actually had more backstory to him than I initially realised, just didn't sort of really go into it much. So the two original characters, unfortunately, the female lead is cut from the story entirely now. She's not in it. Though the male lead, he is actually now side character, still has the same backstory, but he's now like a secondary character. But I do still plan to write their story down the line, but yeah, it's just not this time around.
Well, I think that actually shows a lot of growth as a writer. Now, I'm not a writer. I love books and I'm an avid reader. And that's why I do this show, because I just love books. And I also, as a reader, I'm always going, what's behind the scenes? What's behind the curtain? So I find that if I'm that curious, I'll bet other readers would like to hear that information too, or find out about that information as well. So that's why I started the coffee shop. Because tell me, don't you always love to, when you find out some little tidbit about someone whose book you've read or TV you've seen on TV, some little behind the scenes tidbit? Isn't that always fun?
Oh, it is. I'm absolutely obsessed with knowing all different facts about books and stuff. Like, some of the authors I like, they actually have like little short stories about their characters and little bits of information and stuff. And I don't know, I just love having all that extra bit of stuff and like how their characters came to be and all that sort of stuff. So yes, no, I definitely understand that.
Well, that's where my love of books, and that's how Coffee Shop came to be. So when you finally realized, other than the crushing blow of you had to start all over for book 2, when you came to realize it, did it start to take shape more quickly or more easily?
It did, because I sort of kept writing as like I had my original outline, because I like had the whole thing plotted from beginning to end, pretty much all the scenes in each chapters, and I just sort of kept going with it. And I think for a little while I knew it wasn't, but when these two particular characters that are the main protagonists in the second book started having their scenes together, they sort of started to take over, and it was sort of like, yeah, this is not the book I started out writing, so, but yeah.
Well, I think it's great that you're actually able to listen to your instincts and, in a way, listen to your characters. So that
yes,
you
they
could
definitely
actually
take a mind of their own.
Okay, now I'd like you to explain that because, like I said, I'm not a writer. So how do characters, as a writer, I figure you control their whole world. Why can't you just tell them to go and do what you want them to do?
Oh, it's easier said than done, believe it or not, because as I said, the main character in this book, Pentathril, his whole initial thing was he was in there to make snarky comments and flirt with the love interest in this book that I was writing. And as I started writing him, he had his little snarky moments and stuff, and then it was sort of like, but why is he like that? Why is he like this? And just the ideas came, and it just came in so strong. It's like, I have to write it down. And you start off writing something in a specific way, and it's like they sit there and do say, like, no, this is not something I would do, because you've created a character, you've created a specific personality, and all these traits and history for them, and you go, okay, well, this is where he's going to go, this is what's going to happen. But as you write it, you sort of sit there and it's like, well, hang on, this would go way against his personality, this is not something he would do, and then he goes and does something else instead. And I don't know, it's probably a bit difficult to explain, but it does. Like, you're just like, no, but I want them to do this. But there's something in your head going, but he wouldn't do that like that. And so then you have to go and do what they want.
So it's like you're staying true to the characters that you've created and their personas and their personalities.
Yeah. And if I sort of try to write something that would be completely out of character, it doesn't work. It's sort of like, yeah, it's like, but he wouldn't do this. It's like, if you would do something and you then turn around and do something that went completely against your beliefs or your personality traits and stuff, it wouldn't sit right with you, sort of thing. It's the same thing with the writing. Like, I'll go, oh, okay, I want him to go off and do, he's going to go off and...
He's going to go off and become a monk.
Yeah, he's going to go off and become a monk, but whereas he's sitting over here going, but that's not me. Like, I wouldn't do that. Why are you making me do this? I'm not going to do that. And, yeah.
Just from what you've told me about him, I can almost see him sitting around with a cup of grog, talking with his buddies about, his latest adventure. Not off studying some dusty tome.
That's pretty much exactly what he would do. Exactly it. I think there's actually a bit in the book where he's actually is doing that or something along those lines. But yeah, completely. He would not be sitting there reading the books. That's what Sarah Lynn would be doing.
So what was the other character you just mentioned?
Sarah Lynn. So she's the dragon rider in it. So she's the love interest.
Okay, why don't you tell me a little bit more about her?
Well, she's like the high druid. So she's a mage. So she's got all the magic and all this sort of stuff there. And yeah, she likes her books and her research and all that sort of stuff. Whereas he's the warrior. She's a very good warrior as well and dragon rider. So she's in the thick of it as well. But at the end of the day, she's also a scholar and all that sort of stuff as well. And she's, doing research into this book that they may help them in the main story. And he's very much, oh yes, it'll be fine. Everything's fine. This is just a war, I'm a warrior, you're a warrior, it'll be fine sort of thing, whereas she's a bit more serious and he's sort of a bit, doesn't take life too seriously.
So she likes to know why things will work, and he just, let's get on with it. Let's go fight.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So
he's just like, this is a war that's been going on since before I was born. This is just how it is sort of thing. And yeah.
When you're developing these characters, and I know you have to take things out of your book, you can't put the entire backstory in, but I'm betting you've got them fairly well developed and fairly well researched. Is there anything about your characters that you had to take out of the book that you wished your readers could know?
Little bits and pieces, I suppose. Like, I couldn't sort of drop the entire backstory in there. Like, I've got profiles and stuff, so I know what they're doing and their motivations and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. I can't sort of have every single thing that's ever happened to them go in there. But I know it, so I can that affects their motivations for some sort of things. But like, it's briefly mentioned in it, but the main characters, they've known each other their whole lives and they've sort of grown up together, so they have that sort of whole history. But I can't really put everything like that in there.
You can't put the whole childhood in there, or people would get bored.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a brief sort of thing. They grew up together in the palace and all that sort of stuff together. But it's a very brief sort of thing. But I've got like my own notes on things and events that happened. So occasionally, something can be mentioned. Like book 2, there's something that's sort of just mentioned in passing. It's like, oh yeah, that's something that happened way back when, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I can't put everything in it, but I got as much as I could in there.
I've heard it referred to as iceberg theory. All the reader sees is like the top 10% of the iceberg, whereas the author has to see the whole iceberg and know all the little nooks and crannies and everything about the iceberg.
Yes, very much so. It's like you just see the tip of it, but I'm sort of like, I know why he's doing things, and hopefully the reader can read and go, oh yeah, this is cool. This is why he's doing this and stuff. But yeah, then underneath, it's like, oh, but these are other things that are going on, and this is other things that are motivating his actions here. But they don't come out till further down, sort of thing. But I need to know them from the start.
So do you spend a lot of time developing your characters?
I do actually. I get, I pretty much, when I do it, I do up all my character profiles. I put on all the notes, like personality notes, the, appearances and stuff like that. But, also their background, history and all that sort of stuff. Because I'm very much a plotter. I can't sort of just wing it with these sort of things, but you add things as you go down, as they grow and develop. You're like, oh well, okay, this is a thing that happened, so then you go add that in there. But no, they're very much as fully fleshed out as they can be before I even start. So
I think it's great that you stay true to your characters. I really do, because I've read books where people have, for lack of a term, force their characters into situations they wouldn't normally be found in. And I can suspend disbelief, and I will read anything, even the cereal box if it sits in front of me long enough. But there's times where I'm going, this doesn't make sense. So either you're going to explain it to me as I keep reading, or I'm just going to write this off and go,
I have literally gotten through 3 books out of 4 book series and stuff and just gone, nah, because, the character develops a certain way from book 1 through book 3, for example, and then in book 4 it turns around and go, oh, no, I'm going to go over here, and it's just like, no. but you just spent 3 books not doing that. Why were you doing this now? Like, it's a little frustrating. So I try not to do that. I hope I don't do that.
I equate it with moving landmarks. It would be suddenly
Yes.
like without any reason in the plot if the Sydney Opera House suddenly showed up in Perth.
Yep. And you're like, why? That would never happen.
There better be a reason behind it. And you
Yeah,
better be able to tell me why, and it better be good.
Yes. Other than, just because I made it do that, it's like, no.
Exactly. There better be some kind of building block or why behind it. Some kind of magical spell that was moved to protect it from the fire, the fierce battle or the fire-breathing dragon that was attacking it.
Yes, that would be okay. But if it's just like, no, we just decided it was just going to randomly lay there, it's like, no.
And that's what I call doing your research. So how do you research your books?
Sorry?
How do you research your books?
Well, it's a fantasy word that I've made up, so a lot of it's, my own imagination, but, when it comes to things like the fight scenes and, medieval weapons and what, food and how, like, I look into all that. Like, for example, in book 2 at the moment, I've got an army that's decided it's going to march from one end of the country to the other for some unspecified purpose that I won't say right now. But I was sort of sitting here at my computer the other day. I'm like, okay, well, because I actually have maps of my worlds too. My mum is a bit of an artist, so we actually sit down and drew up a map of this fantasy world. So I get right into that sort of stuff. But so I'm like, okay, well, how big is this country? And how long is it going to take them to march from one end of the country to the other? Because they're on foot, they've got wagons and weapons and siege weapons and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I jumped online and was online for about 2 hours or something trying to figure out, okay, well, how fast does a medieval army march? And how long will it take them to get across a country that is, I can't remember what it was, but 500 miles or whatever. How long is it going to take them to do that on foot? So things like that, I try and make sure it's right.
I think that's great because I think that only adds to the book.
I always have a big thing with timing and stuff. Like, I read books and I'm like, but how long is it taking them to do this? So I don't know whether it's necessarily something people want to know, but it's something I need to know. So I like to know when I'm reading things. It's like, okay, you're marching across a country that's the size of, say, England, and you're doing it in a week on foot. I don't think that's right.
And that's where, as a reader, I would get what I call bounced out of the book, and I'd be going, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel right. Something about this isn't sitting well, feels wrong. And that's why I think the research, even when it comes down to how fast does a medieval army march, is so important.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to make 100 miles in a day.
No, I think I can't remember what it was. I do have it written down somewhere, but I think it's something like they can walk something like 15 or 18 miles a day or something, and that, because they have wagons, they have their weapons, they're not all on horseback and that sort of thing. So as I said, I have the notes here among my piles of papers, but it's something like, they can only travel like about 15 miles a day or something like that.
Right, so unless you're going to introduce some magical spell that just randomly transports them, it's going to take a while for them to get across 500 miles.
Yeah, exactly. And like I have magic in my books, but I do try to keep it in like realistic, I suppose. Like got a mage with them, but yeah, he can't just go, let's just teleport all the way across the country. That's just not something that they can do. So. Yeah, you have to limit that.
Mage doesn't have that power.
No, he doesn't.
I have read other high fantasy works where there is the ability with the wizard or sorceress or mage or however the character was portrayed, they have the ability to do that, but it has to be a place they can picture or see or something. They can't just randomly go poof.
Yeah, like they have to have been there or something themselves. Yeah. But mine, unfortunately, can't do that.
Well, that's probably what makes your book actually better, because then you have the chance during their travel to throw in the obstacles and figure out and have an adventure along the way.
Yeah, that's it. If you just like snap your fingers and you're there, then it's like, oh, well, there's been no journey, there's been no development, like, yeah.
We missed out on, it's like, wait a minute, I missed 100 pages somewhere. Where'd they all go?
Yeah, it's like we're in the beginning and we're already at the end. Oh, righto.
Now, you said you're an outliner.
Yes.
Do you do the very detailed kind of outline where, you're going to take scene A and they're going to do things 1, 2, and 3, and then in scene B they're going to do 3, 4, and 5? Or do you do, I know I need point A, point B, point C to happen, how I'm going to get from A to B, I don't know yet, my characters will tell me while I'm writing?
No, I literally have to have every single thing done, like, start off, you have your beginning. Generally, when I start, I know how it's going to end. I have to know how it's going to end, otherwise I don't know how to get there. I have my beginning and I have my end, and then, generally something sort of dramatic happens somewhere in the middle sort of thing, and then, there's all the rest of it. But no, I definitely have to have it all done, like, the Dragon Riders, 8 chapters and an epilogue, I believe. But yeah, in each chapter, it was like, okay, chapter 1, this is happening, these are the scenes. Into chapter 2, this is happening. Like, it's literally chapter by chapter, scene by scene. Not necessarily specifically, an entire paragraph on a scene, but, it'd be like, okay, this is chapter 1, these are the things that need to happen. These are going to happen in chapter 1, these things are happening in chapter 2. And then as I go, and then I add to it, I can flesh that out more as I go. Like, I have a million notebooks, I have apps on my phone where I just write notes in it, and then I can go back and go, okay, well, for example, it could be like, I could end up with a whole conversation that's happening in chapter 8. So, I'll write that out, I'll write all the dialogue out, and then I'll just go and stick that in my outline so it's there when I get to it. But no, it's definitely pretty much chapter by chapter, scene by scene before I start.
Do your characters ever just completely surprise you and want to go do something that you hadn't thought of? Like you had them sitting down to dinner and they decide they're going to go off and be with their love interest instead.
Oh, absolutely. It is an outline, but I don't stick religiously to it. Like, if the characters decide, no, we're going to do this instead, then they go do that instead. Like, yeah, or, something you might happen and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. That didn't plan on happening. It just did. So
I guess as long as it works with your characters and it still gets you from chapter 1 to chapter 2 and chapter 2 to chapter 3, you let it go.
Yep, that's it. Sometimes it ends up being longer than anticipated. Like, I had it happen to me this week. I was writing a scene and I had a bit of a plot hole, but, sometimes it's like, okay, well, we'll go with it and see where it goes. And I've solved it, but now it also means that it's added an entire extra chapter to the book. So, yeah, it just happens.
Well, as long as you solve the plot hole, I think that's the important
and it's
point.
necessary. It moves the story, and it was a thing that's continues. Yeah, that's good.
Your love interest scenes, do you show them in detail, or do you kind of black screen them? Oh, well, cut to black, come back.
No cut to black. I don't like cut to black. No, you get to see the whole thing. I think sometimes there's something worse than you're reading a book and it's all leading up to this moment, and then it's like, and the door closes. And it's like, what now?
It's more like, wait a minute, I wanted to know the details.
Yeah. It's like, you did not just shut the door on me, did you? But no, it's definitely, it's definitely follow through, and it's no, like, fade to black moments. So, yeah.
So you do get to see the whole goings-on through the character's eyes, including the steamy scenes.
Yes.
In fact,
that is true.
I've been told that some of your scenes aren't necessarily proper reading for coffee shops.
No, I'd probably wait to take that home. Probably not in public. I wouldn't read it in public.
Otherwise, you might be squirming in your chair a bit, huh?
A little bit.
So were those scenes, especially the steamy, intimate ones, were they hard to write? Were they fun to write? How? Because I haven't come across too many books where they actually leave in the intimate moments.
They're not really hard to write, but it's sort of like, there's no one home, there's no one going to walk in here and see me writing this. I don't know, I sort of feel a little bit awkward, but only if it's with someone like, I have like other tabs on, like if my husband's home or something, I'm like, nope, not writing this now, we'll take notes and write that later. But no, I don't find them too difficult to write. I grew up reading a lot of my mum's historical romance novels, a lot of the ones that were written in the 70s and 80s, so a lot of them, I learned a lot from those growing up. But a
lot of inspirational background research, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, it wasn't difficult. It was probably a little bit weird the first time I did it. It was like, oh, did I seriously just write that right now? But no, it's fun. It's fun. It is fun. And as I said, especially like, you know, how your characters would handle that situation, and yeah.
Now, do the characters always make sure they're alone before they get into such a scene?
Well, they're alone, but yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to find complete privacy.
Flint wouldn't necessarily care whether they were entirely alone, we'll just say that. But they are alone this time, but it's not really a thing that concerns him.
Well, that's a little tidbit that your readers might find interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say?
I was going to say, yeah, so that's a little personality trait of his. He's just like, well, you know, we'll just go with it.
Well, we are going to take a break and pay those radio station bills. And I'm going to refill my coffee. And we will see you on the other side of this commercial break.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
All right, thank y'all for hanging in there with us over that commercial break. And yes, I am back with Errin Krystal, author of The Last Dragon Rider. So how you doing there, Errin?
Good, going well.
So what's in that mug of yours? Do we need to top that off?
Yep, just another coffee would be awesome.
You got it. What is your day like? I mean, do you write every day of the week, or do you write on the evenings, the weekends? Do you get up extra early?
I try to write a little bit each day. At the moment, it's probably more 5 days a week. I try and do it as like a second job. Like I'm a chef and I work breakfast, lunch shifts, so I usually get home roughly about 3:30 in the afternoon. My husband's still at work. My son's at daycare, so I generally get about 2 hours in the afternoon before they get home. So I try and sort of get as much as I can done in there, and then, after get a little bit more done in the evenings after, my son's gone to bed and all that sort of thing. But I I try to treat it as another job. So I like to try and do Monday to Friday, and then so Saturday, Sunday I don't have I don't have work. Well, I have my other job, my real job, my day job. But so like Saturday, Sunday, it's sort of like when I'm home with my family, and then, Monday to Friday I try to write. So I try to do it 5 days a week, and try to do at least a minimum of 500 words a day. So
that sounds like a great strategy. So has being a chef impacted your book in the way, do you put a little more food in there, or is there something about your day job that creeps into your writing?
A little bit. There's actually a scene in The Dragon Rider where Flint is actually Flint Athriel, his nickname is Flint, where he's actually in a tavern eating. So that was actually kind of quite fun to write.
Where do you live? Because I'm sure my listeners I have listeners from all over the world, but I know a lot of them are here in the U.S., so where do you live?
I actually I'm from Australia. I live in Victoria is a state, and the town is called Wiganya. It has I think we have a population of about 500 people. It's in northeastern Victoria. So if anyone knows where Melbourne is, it's about 3-hour drive from Melbourne.
I'd like to think my listeners don't live under a rock and could find Melbourne on a map.
That's on Melbourne, capital city, yes. So, about 3 hours north of Melbourne. North? Yes. Upwards.
Does living in Australia, do you use...
I should also mention it's wine country too. There's a lot of wineries around here.
Ooh, yum.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself using landscapes similar to your home country in your book?
A little bit, actually, yeah. We have, in the summertime, it gets quite hot here, and pretty much all the grass dies and is brown. There's no green. There's actually, in the second book, they're actually going through these wastelands, and it's dry and dusty, and basically like my backyard, it looks like in the summertime. So, yeah.
I've had other authors mention it to me because it's easier for them to write, because in that way they know the feel and the smell and that kind of thing, if they use something that's familiar to them.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm in a small town, so there's a lot of trees and bushland and stuff around me. So, if I go into town, the road I go is there's literally just farms and lots of tall gum trees and all that sort of stuff pretty much all around us here. I look out my office window at the moment, and there's a paddock down the back, and there's just trees everywhere. So
sounds like a lovely, peaceful thing to look out on.
Yeah.
Now, are you traditionally self-published or self-published?
I went the traditional route because I did look into self-publishing, and honestly, it looked a little bit complicated for me, and the time that I would need to put in with that sort of stuff, I just honestly didn't have the time with my job and all that sort of stuff. But I sort of always wanted to go traditional. It's my publisher's the Wild Rose Press, and they are majority online. I think they're still classed as a small press. They've been around a long time, but no, I've gotten really lucky because they were the first ones I submitted to, and they liked my book and my story, and yeah, I got really lucky there. So it's a majority online, but yeah, traditional, and it's just sort of, I don't know, that's just the way I've always thought I'd do it if I wanted to do it, so I thought I'd have a try first anyway.
I think it's great, and I encourage people to take what path fits them, because as I've said on air, and I'll remind you again, guys, I'm not a writer. I'm more at home behind the microphone or reading.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, and look, kudos to those who do the self-publishing. I think it's fantastic. I just didn't think it was something that I would actually be very good at doing, and I don't know enough about doing all that sort of stuff myself. And at the time, my job does take up a lot of my time and my family, and so I'm like, well, I'll try this first and see what comes of it, and if it doesn't pan out, I'll explore other options down the line. But as I said, I got very lucky, so I'm really happy with that.
That's great. So you mentioned you treat your writing like a second job, and you try and do it 5 days a week. Do you find yourself sometimes on the weekend you'll see something and you're like, I have to put that in the book? Do you feel just drawn to the keyboard and you're like, I have to write these notes down?
Yes, definitely. I don't just go, oh, it's the weekend, I'm not doing it. But I give myself the option of having the days off, like, for example, my husband and my son were away this weekend, so I got home from work and I was the only person in the house. So I'm like, well, I'm going to take this opportunity and get a bit more done. So I had some ideas and writing down notes in my notebook on my lunch break, and so I come home and type them all up.
Now, you mentioned to me before when we were starting that The Last Dragon Rider is the first book in a series. Are you working on the second book yet?
I am. I'm probably pushing the halfway point of the second book. I'm on chapter 8, and I've got roughly about 20 chapters plotted out. As I said, I had to start scratch. So I basically, that was back in September when I realised I had to scrap the other book, which then became this. So a lot of it is still in this book, but just the main bit has had to change in the characters, and there's like certain characters that broke my heart to cut them out, but they just didn't have a place. But so I'm about chapter 8, so rough, getting close to halfway. I started this one officially in January, so I'm hoping, if I can keep on track, I'm really hoping to have it finished, hopefully ready for submission by January next year. That's the plan.
Well, I wish you all the best with that, and I hope to see you back on the coffee shop when you get the second book out.
Definitely.
So is there anything that you would tell a new writer who is trying to get started? What advice would you give to them?
Just keep writing, really. Yeah, just do it, and do it because you like it. Like, don't do it because you have to. Like, if you're writing a story and you don't like it, then don't write it. If you don't enjoy it, then it's not, people can tell. Like, if you're writing something that you don't enjoy, I'm pretty sure that's going to come out in the writing. So, but yeah, starting out, write what you love and just keep at it. You cannot fix an empty page.
No, you can't. And I have tried writing numerous times. And because I feel like I'm on a little island surrounded by writers, so they're all always encouraging me to go sit at the keyboard and try and craft these stories, and I go, it's just not my thing. But you put me behind the microphone, my eyes light up, and all my interest suddenly becomes focused on the little red dot saying, you're on air.
I have so many stories and not enough time to write them all.
Do you have an online... I'm always hearing about writers and their platforms, their websites and their Twitter feeds and their Facebook pages. Is that something you started to develop before you published, or did you wait until you had a publication date, or what path did you take with your writer's platform?
Well, I started it before I got published. I basically, because I wrote for a lot of years just as a hobby, as something fun to do, and I never really took myself seriously about it at all. It was just something I did, and I've been writing my whole life and really can remember. Like, I attempted my first book, my first novel when I was 16. I'm still actually working on that one, actually. But yeah, I set up my Facebook page and my website and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty much when I decided, no, I actually want to have a go at this, because for a lot of time I never showed anyone any of my writing. It was just something I did for me, and I showed a friend one day, and they're like, "This is actually, not bad. Like, you should try and do this." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, my mum's a writer, so I've sort of been around writers and stuff. But yeah. So when I decided that, yeah, I'm actually going to try and have a crack and do this for real, then yeah, I built my website and my Facebook and set up my Twitter and all that, and blog and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so I did. Yes, short answer, yes, I did it before I got published.
Was it a hard thing for you to do, to suddenly start sharing your work with an editor or other people besides your immediate family, or do you even share it with your family?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. My mum, I'd shown my mum bits and pieces. As I said, I've sort of always written like little stories and stuff ever since I was a kid, and I remember showing her when I first started trying to write one back when I was a teenager. But and then my sister as well, she's really great. But for a long time, it was literally I would just show my mum and my sister, and even then it was very reluctant to do so. Yeah, I don't know. It's because I liked it and I thought I was okay. But, you never really want to have someone turn around and go, yeah, nah, that's, that's no good. So, yeah, it was a big deal when I actually decided to start trying to show people and get some thoughts on what people thought. But I'm glad I did, because I'm here now.
The one thing that seems to come up with every book is editing. Now, do you have an outside editor that you use personally aside from the publishing company?
I usually get my mum helps me edit my first one, because I did as much as I could, but after reading it through 100 times, sometimes it's like you need a fresh set of eyes. But yeah, I had so mum has some friends, and I had an outside editor go through it and everything before I first submitted it. But yeah, so definitely a few people looked at it before I submitted it to a real life publisher. I'm undecided as whether I'll do that again this time, because I've learnt a lot, and as I said, my mum helps me a lot. So she sort of, once I get it to a point where I'm like, I cannot look at this anymore, I think I've got it to as best that I can get it, then I'll, she'll help me edit it. But yeah, so I'm undecided whether I'll send it to another editor before I submit it again this time. But no, I definitely have some outside help on that regard.
Now, they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody does. Everybody is guilty. So
I love a pretty cover.
And yours is fantastic. So did you come up with the concept for that on your own, or did the publisher come up with it? How did your cover come to exist?
Well, when I signed my contract, I filled in a cover art form. So then I have the options of sort of the style that I want, and I can put my ideas through. And I wanted so it's sort of the style that I wanted. I wanted to have the background. I wanted to have the dragon in it, and I've always, I don't know, like a lot of the books. Like I said, when I was younger, I read a lot of my mum's romance novels, and I always liked when you have the protagonists on the cover. Like this, there's a lot more to this than romance book. There's like, action and fantasy, but, there is a romance line that goes through it. But, yeah, I don't know. I like having the characters on the front cover. And so I was like, this is sort of what I want. And I could send them examples of the sort of ideas that I had. And this is what they come back with. And it was, yeah, perfect. I loved it.
Well, I think an author always has to be proud of their book cover.
Yes, I definitely love it.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. And so your cover was professionally done.
Yes, so the publisher has their own cover artists. So, as I said, we're allowed to put our suggestions in and what the book, this is what it's about. These are what the characters are. This is what the characters look like, etc. But at the end of the day, it's up to them. So this is what they came up with, and yeah, I loved it. So it was pretty much everything I wanted.
Well, that's great, and I think it's fantastic that you signed with a small press that lets you have more control over the cover. Because you certainly wouldn't want a red-headed protagonist on your cover if your protagonist is blonde.
No, that's true. I've seen that on some books. You pick it up and you start reading about the characters, and I'm like, but they don't even look like the ones in the thing. Like,
it just throws you for a loop.
Yeah, it's like, that's not what the guy looks like on the cover. Like, my Fantathriel has that silver, white, blonde sort of hair, and the guy they've got on the front cover has the silver, white, blonde hair. So yeah, winning.
Are there ever days where you go to the keyboard and you go, I just can't face this today?
Yes. Yes, there is. Sometimes I'll sit there and it's just like, no. Like, it could be because I'm tired. I could be tired. I've had a busy week, or I just can't concentrate, or just nothing comes to me. But when that happens, sometimes sitting at the keyboard feels like too much pressure too, which is really strange. I don't know. But sometimes it's easier for me to sit with a notebook or at the kitchen table or type into my phone than it is to actually sit at the computer desk. I don't know. It seems like less pressure.
So you are one of those right wherever you feel comfortable type people, not you have to be in your office at your keyboard.
Yeah. Because as I say, because sometimes the computer is very distracting. Like, sometimes I might open it up and be like, oh yes, I have all these plans, and then I end up messing around on Twitter and Facebook and stuff for 2 hours, and it's like, oh, well, this was a productive day. Which I don't like to do because, as I said, I do sort of have limited windows of when I can work, and because I have other things that I need to put my time into. So if it's sort of like I'm not being able to concentrate and stuff, sometimes it's just easier for me to go sit at the table with a notebook, or even sit down in front of Netflix with my phone. I have an app on my phone that's actually, I can type into that and it will sync to my desktop, so I can just cut and paste what I have written from this app into my manuscript. So, and sometimes I'll just sit there and watch some movies or some TV and write into my phone, and
I think it all comes down to do whatever works for you.
Yeah.
All right.
So many distracting things.
Oh, trust me, I've run down more than one rabbit hole. Usually mine involves chasing some news story around the world, trying to figure out some little detail. And I'll find myself 2 hours later looking up going, I can't believe I spent 2 hours chasing this one thing.
Yep, that's it.
So, as I do with every guest on the coffee shop, and we've already mentioned you have a website, and you have a Facebook page, and you have a Twitter handle, why don't you give out all your social media contact information so people know how to find out more about you and your book, The Last Dragon Rider?
Absolutely. Well, Twitter is at Errin Krystal, and it's ERRIN, because my parents decided to be different. Errin Krystal on Facebook. I have a blog, erinkrystal.wordpress.com. And my website is erinkrystal.weebly.com, which I have built that myself. So,
Sounds
and all
fantastic.
the links should be on my website as well, if I've forgotten anything.
And all the links will be in the description of this episode, too.
Awesome.
All right. Well, as always, hi, thank you for joining me here in the coffee shop. And
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Now, I think it's time for me to grab that copy of The Last Dragon Rider and pour myself a cup of coffee and settle down with a good book. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV, or you can email me at the station, either a question or comment. And yes, if you send something about the episode, I will pass it on to the author. Or if you want to be a guest on Coffee Shop, Jessie, Jessie at KLRNRadio.com. And I will see you guys next time in the coffee shop.
Hey, she's got that green applesauce pouch again. Ginny, want these chips?
I've got cookies. Guys, you know I don't trade my Go-Go Squeeze. Seriously, no one asked their mom yet?
I did, sorta.
You just gotta remember the name, Go-Go Squeeze. Let her know it's delicious. 100% fruit with no bad stuff and totally good for you.
What's it called again?
Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze. Made with 100% fruit and no artificial anything. Goodness on the go. Find it in the applesauce aisle today.